Welcome to Jamie TV, and thank you for tuning in. In this video, I'm going to show you an iOS music effects app that is named after one of my favourite brands of crisps, and an 80s movie that was strangely as disappointing as it was inspiring. It's made by a man called Zoltan. Isn't that the coolest name ever? It is in fact the name of Dracula's dog. Now, when it comes to coding iOS music effects app, Zoltan is one of
the leading leaders.
He is in fact the daddy.
I am your father.
Check out my videos on TruePan and Spatializer. I just like saying the name Zoltan. But I really should stop and point out that Dracula's dog puts his apps out under the name Quantovox. If you check the App Store, you'll find that as well as the seminal stereo widening AUV3 Spatializer and TruePan, which features in pretty much everything I ever produce, there's also mid-side continuum. Spend any time with these three apps and it becomes clear that we're not just dealing with an excellent coder here, but someone who has a deep understanding of the matter at hand. This is a trio of apps that will give you complete control of the stereo picture in a way you might never have imagined possible. Next from the Quantovox stable was Real Phase, and it makes me sad to say that although I have shown it in a number of videos at the time of release, I simply didn't have the time to make a demo of this app. And it's an absolute gem. I thought I understood phasing. I thought I knew everything about it and every sound a phaser could make. And I was wrong. Once again, Quantovox brought us a feature-rich plugin wrapped in a beautiful user interface that provides more functionality than I ever dreamed a phaser could possibly need. But it's not overkill. This is an application that unlocks new creative doors and has taught me more about the potential of phasing. So if you overlooked it, smash yourself in the face with a frying pan and then go and buy it. And so that brings us to Ringotron. How does it work? Well, here's a boring piano thing I recorded some time ago. Let's switch on Ringotron, and this is the initial preset setting. If I move this ribbon control to the left, you'll see that there are two nodes in the visualizer. The first two ribbon controls change the frequency of them, and the next two will change their bandwidth. In this module here, we have controls for node 1 and node 2, giving us control over gain, width, depth, as you might expect, but there's also a soften control. Everything about Ringotron seems to have been designed with the fact that ring modulation can be harsh and abrasive in mind, and these soften controls help to tame some of the more painful frequencies. Also, mix mode is much easier on the more sensitive ear than filter mode. These two controls are stereo frequency modulators, which work in conjunction with the bandwidth ribbon controls. When positive, the right channel will have a higher modulator frequency than the left. STF stands for Stereo Center Frequency, When positive, the right channel will have a higher one than the left. When negative, it's the other way around. You can see this visualized in the visualizer. Great sentence. Well done, Jamie. The stereo phase controls simply create a phase shift of the modulator wave between the left and right channels. Anything other than a 0 setting will result in some degree of panning. Notice the purple outline around the stereo phaser knobs. If I go back to the first module and adjust the depth, then skip back, you'll see that the purple outline has changed to help to indicate the effect the depth control can have on the stereo phasing. In the next module, let's crank these phaser controls and then switch on tempo sync so that I can show you that we can now use the ribbon controls to adjust the phase sync by degree, in line with the host tempo. The really cool stuff though happens here, a second set of modules dedicated to modulating the nodes. Let's get these nodes moving. These controls determine how far the nodes will travel. And we'll tempo sync and play with the rate. Over here, we can change the modulator waveform. We've got lovely smooth movement with the sine wave, a triangle wave, choppy movement with the square wave, and then some really interesting stuff going on as we move into the many step types. And then we go nuts by adding some phasing and filtering to the modulation in this next module. We can, of course, use the blend control to reintroduce some dry signal. And we have some preset gain profiles to experiment with. I don't know exactly how these are set, but I've found if I want the low end of the affected signal to be very present, I select bass. Clean for just the opposite, and mixed is somewhere in between. There's a limiter and clipper which I highly recommend you use, and there's a visual indicator of what they're doing here, and numerical data here. You can lock your limiter and clipper at this tab here, and if you wish to type in a parameter value, click here. Then tap the knob you wish to type in a value for. One last thing to show you under this tab here is a control that allows you to boost ultra-high resonating frequencies. Sensibly, Quantovox include a warning here about the potential hazards of doing so. But I've found if you dial in your sound and then experiment with this carefully, the world will not explode. Please do make sure you do things this way around, because if you crank this up and then go pissy-panting around with crazy settings, you might destroy your ears, your speakers, and rip a hole in the space-time continuum. Ringotron comes preloaded with a whole host of excellent presets that are very nice and neatly helpfully categorized. But I like to try and encourage people, when you get a new app, do some piss-panting around with it, read the manual, use the YouTube videos, use the knowledge you already have, and use the presets to learn how the app works. Don't skip the audio journey. This way, you will learn how to dial in the exact sound that you're looking for, the sound in your head, the sound that will suit your track. But if you are the kind of musician who likes to just, look through some presets and find a sound that will suit your track, then there is a whole lot to go at here. Now, I want to finish this video by just mentioning the one thing that irks me about this particular app. It's pretty much perfect. I can't find a fault with it. The thing that worries me about it is that it is so inexpensive. It's so cheap. And I think it says a lot about this iOS music ecosystem that we all love so much, that a developer, having created something so excellent and obviously having put so much time into it, that he feels that he needs to sell it for such a low price. I'd be really interested to know what you think on this matter in the comments below the video. Until my next video, take care of yourselves, be kind and be good people, make lots of music, look after yourselves, each other and the planet, and try not to piss your pants about. I'll see you later.